Hello, hello, everybody. You have joined us for Carnivore Muscle Ramblings. I am the one and only Jerome Armstrong, for better or worse. And joining me today on Jonathan's channel are the incredibly intelligent and beautiful Sophie and some guy named Jonathan. Jonathan, Sophie, how you guys doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are
Good,
you?
thank you.
What a
How you
great
Doing
doing?
well.
introduction.
Thank you. I think half of it was good.
Yeah, it sounded good to me. A lot better than my introduction. I don't think we introduced ourselves quick enough last time. I think we had a comment about a week or two ago where someone said, guys, just cut to the chase. I'm like, all right, okay, sorry. Sorry for introducing who we are on our own channel.
Was that the one when I wasn't part of it?
I'm not sure. I think
Because I
someone said,
missed out
like,
on Friday, didn't I? I was doing my stuff.
I think it just said, I'll get to the point. And I was like, I
Yeah, I
don't
think that
know.
was a few Q&As ago.
Oh, God. It's
Yeah, I
just
thought
funny. It's your own channel. Do what you want.
it's Carnival Muscle Ramblings. The hint is in the name.
I'm going to introduce the next one. I'm going to take about 5 minutes to introduce everyone.
Yeah. Oh, good. Hey, speaking of, how's it going? Nice to see you here. I like how he uses the word folks as well. That's a word that I've used around him quite a lot. It's nice how we all sort of pick up on each other's languages and things like that. I've started saying awesome recently, but it's not in my vocabulary.
No.
So,
I call people morons now, don't I?
morons.
Moron.
Morons.
I like hench.
Right, we've
I
got a
don't think I've
question.
ever been called hench before in my life until Jonathan and Sophie started saying it.
Have you heard of Hench Herb before?
I've never heard that.
Oh, he's an English guy. I think he's from London. He's like,
Mhm.
right, guys, you got to get your calories right on point here. So when you go to Aldi and you get your plant-based meat and vegetables and all that, you look at the numbers on it and you calculate them. And what you do is you then go to the gym and do a good hard workout. Then you consult with me for about $180 per hour, and I'm going to get you right on track. Okay? I'm like, all right,
Fantastic.
sounds great. Make me anemic as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right.
First question.
First question. Let's be serious now.
Yeah, totally serious.
Yes. So, question: what is your favourite or most efficient triceps exercise? And about Mike Menser, was he using steroids? And Jerome, thank you again for the book's recommendation.
Oh, you're welcome. My favorite triceps exercise, and I only use a few, but my favorite triceps exercise is a timed static contraction tricep extension. So I have my shoulder press, and I'll just put my fatty part of my hands right on top of the handles, which pretty much puts my arms at a right angle. And then I'll push down following time static contraction protocol. 30 seconds, moderate effort, 30 seconds, relatively hard, 15 seconds, almost as hard as I can, and 15 seconds as hard as I dare. And at least for me, especially my arms, but my torso and a good part of my body is shaking quite a bit by the time that I'm done with that exercise. Otherwise, I really enjoy a skull crusher, but performed behind the head. I don't like holding the weight directly above the head. Those are probably my two favorite triceps exercises. Mike Menser did take steroids. You can find pictures of him shortly after he started training, at least if you listen to him in his own words, so take it with a grain of salt. He says he started taking steroids about 18. Um, who knows? It's a bodybuilder. It's necessary to compete at the high level to take performance enhancing drugs. But it was the 70s and they were legal at the time. So take that as you will.
Yes, very good answer. There is a way to almost find out with near certainty if someone is or isn't using anabolic substances. There is a study they've done on some of the golden era bodybuilders, and they worked out their fat-free mass index, and it said basically, if you type in like natural bodybuilder chances percentages calculator or something, you could effectively work out if Mike O'Hearn was or wasn't natural. Basically came down to saying something like someone like Mike O'Hearn, who's a current, past, and present fitness influencer. He's got a really good physique. He's probably about 50 now or something. There's a 1% chance that he's natural. So you can look at that sort of information, that data, and think, okay, he is or isn't natural. You make your own assumptions up. it's not important to know whether someone is or isn't natural on my channel. What's important is that we understand how to build muscle and lose fat. The same sort of principles apply. The only thing I'll say about people that do use performance enhancing drugs are that it can expedite the results dramatically, which is actually quite useful in a research setting. So, for example, someone that might be using TRT, or if they're using some fat burning tablets or something, you can look at them and use them as a case study and say, the diet worked really well for them, and it, provided these results over a 6-week period. Now, your results might be like 20% slower or lesser, but you can almost amplify what would happen in a certain period of time. So that's why I think it's sometimes useful to actually listen to the performance enhanced athletes as well. But there's all sorts of caveats and nuance to this sort of thing anyway. But yeah, so that's what I'd look at in terms of like if someone is or isn't natural. Mike Mensa was using steroids, as Jerome correctly pointed out. My most efficient triceps exercise, I'd say overhead cable tricep extensions. Ideally, I'll be doing this on an incline bench, and someone would pass the weight to me. So it's effectively like a French press sort of thing. I find that builds the long head of the triceps very well. For overall mass, it's a very effective exercise. Like visually as well, it makes quite a big impact. I have quite weak short head of the triceps, so you can't really see in the image here, but maybe like that bit there. It's not very good basically, and it's always not been very good. So I'm probably the worst person to ask until I build a big short head of the triceps, and maybe you can ask me that sort of question. But I like a dip machine, so something which allows you to sit in the machine and do like a bench dip where your palm's quite sort of neutral position. You just push down on it, so it'd be either side of you like that. I like to sit quite far forward in the seat, so the angle was further behind me, so I'm not using as much. It's not as much for chest movement. It's more of a sort of elbow flexion kind of movement. I'm trying to think what else now. What I've been doing recently is actually it's almost like Jerome's cable push down, static contraction. So you have an assisted dip machine. It's also assisted chin up machine. So it's where you have the pad that's in front of you. You can add weight to it, and it makes it easier for you. I'll actually put weight on that, which makes it harder for you. So when you stand up next to the machine, and you can get your hands in different positions, whatever feels comfortable in your elbows, and just push down on it. That's effectively what I like to do. So you've got a shortened range movement being the dip, mid-range movement being the push downs with the assisted dip or chin up machine, then an overhead cable extension. They're what I like to use. So Sophie's not had access to most of this equipment, so she's going to have a completely different opinion to both of us probably. What do you think?
I quite like, and I tend to feel the burn a lot better, is a dumbbell over the head tricep extension. I feel like the angle on the machine, I just don't feel it, whereas doing the dumbbell one, I mean, the heaviest dumbbells I've got, annoyingly, is only 4.5 kilos. But even then, I feel the burn on them, and I'm, pushing the last few. So that's probably my favourite. I'm not the best at dips, because I don't have the upper body strength. So they're not, I don't mind them. They're probably the second, but yeah. Quite like the rope push downs. Is that what they're called? No, pull downs.
Push downs, yeah.
Push downs.
Or rope extensions.
Rope extensions. Well, yeah. So yeah, I kind of mix between them, but the dumbbell over the head tricep extension is definitely my favourite.
Good shout.
And I had no idea about Mike Mensa and steroids, and if I'm honest, I couldn't care.
Yeah, out of the golden era
muscles,
guys, allegedly their doses were a lot smaller. Robbie Robinson in some interviews talks about how even a relatively low dose almost killed him because of some cardiovascular condition that he has. So, what else was I going to say? Oh, it's a big that website that Jonathan's mentioning, I made a note and I'll put that in the comments, but they have some interesting ideas that you can do things like take your wrist circumference in centimeters or inches and your height and maybe a few other measurements about the size of your joints, and it'll loosely calculate what it suspects is kind of the limit to how much muscle you can build naturally. You have to take that with a grain of salt. They're using guys like Steve Reeves and some older bodybuilders to try and make those approximations. But in general, the way I look at it is there aren't a lot of guys with the genetics to be 200 plus pounds, under 10% body fat. And there's some other things that me and Jonathan can spot pretty quickly. Normally, extremely overdeveloped traps, capped delts, stuff like that tend to be giveaways. But really, what people do is their own business. And my primary concern is just being the best version of myself that I can be. But I'll make sure that website gets it into the comments in case you want to fool around with that calculator.
I might do.
That's
actually.
kind of you. Yeah, it's useful to see. And if you're like me, you've got giant ankles, it can really throw things off. I've got quite thin wrists. You might not be able to tell. Quite thin wrists, but then my ankles are big. I've got really big feet, so it's the measurements for what your thigh estimated circumference might be different to your arm sort of thing. Yeah, Robbie Robinson has, I believe it's sickle cell anemia. So him taking like a TRT dose of testosterone would blow up his blood vessels to oblivion. So you can't really do that. Yeah, it's a good point as well. Sophie actually saw one of Mike Mentor's presentations. I think it's the one that's in the college or seminar room or something.
Yeah.
And Sophie was like, "Who's that geezer? You didn't know anything about training." And I was like, "Sophie, you retired like 20 years ago." And that's a picture of him beforehand. He looked like the best bodybuilder on the planet at one point.
Well, Mike is interesting in that I think his mom had a history of depression, and I'm pretty sure it ran in Mike. And you could see it. And if you listen to enough of his interviews, we catch glimpses of what Mike was like at his best. We've seen him at the 1980 Mr. Olympia with the footage. We hear how intelligent and articulate he can be. But there's also a real dark side to Mike Mentzer. You can find a couple of videos talking about these long bouts of depression, interviews where people that knew him talk about how he would drink a whole bottle of vodka a day. Lots of times Mike would be talking about how he's always constantly just starting to pick up training and plans on getting lean again. His weight cycled quite a bit seemingly. So real interesting guy. And it's one thing that is big of advocates of a carnivore diet as we are. It makes me really think Mike probably could have ameliorated a lot of this with diet. He was a big proponent of high carbohydrate diets, and he was known for eating pancakes and muffins and cake and junk food like all the way up until a competition. And it makes me wonder how much better his mental state might have been if he was following a species appropriate diet, especially later in his life. But Mike has this terrible quote where he says something like, "I'm a bodybuilder, not a health food junkie." And it's kind of sad because I don't think the two are necessarily mutually exclusive.
But Jerome, it's the most logical and rational approach to building muscle is to eat lots of sugar.
Yeah,
I completely agree, though.
It's sad. Mike died at 49, I think, and me at 37. I'm thinking like, geez, it's not too far ahead of where I am now.
But I do think food and like mental health is definitely linked, isn't it? Like, I noticed that when I started the carnivore diet, I mean, I wasn't on like the worst diet beforehand, but like my mental health is a lot better in just when I first started, like in those short few months. So I think, that would help a lot of people, but it's obviously trying to get them out of the mindset of this is what you go to and this is what you do when you're feeling those kind of ways. But while we're on the topic of mind, just quickly, as I'm now an affiliate, just going to mention the limbic training that Annabelle Smithson, Pim Johnson, and Scott Everson, forget his surname, they're doing. It's a very good deal. I will put in the comments like a link to go there. Very good price. They really help like retrain your brain, which I think is very useful. And I've got a cheeky little discount code as well, which I will pop in there as well. It's
useful stuff. Usually I'm not the sort of person to really promote product services and stuff, just because we don't need a lot of it. The amount of people that I come across on a weekly basis that have binge eating disorders, the mindset's not right, and that's even in spite of the fact they're following the carnivore diet. It makes me think there's obviously something else people can offer that I perhaps can't. So I'm open to promoting other things which are useful to people. And if they haven't seen that video yet, it's banging hilarious.
It's so funny. Unedited.
It's called like Mastering Your Limbic System or something on my channel. It's probably about a week or two old. It's brilliant.
Check it out. It's funny.
If you guys want to laugh and you want to have a good time and watch that video, it's about half an hour long.
Yeah.
And what was the other point about Mike Menson? I'm trying to think what I was going to say. Yeah, so speaking of, I actually had a really good, I think it was like an email conversation at one point about his goals. Now, what I basically did is, I know he's maybe a little bit shorter than me, like an inch shorter. So still quite a tall guy. Similar sort of natural frame. And I thought, well, this is what I achieved as a natural bodybuilder. So I looked at my measurements, my body fat, and said, this is what I achieved. And I was about 16, 17, 18 years old at that point. I thought, I'm going to give those measurements to you, and that can be your goal. I think that could be achievable. He's older than me at the time I was a kid, sort of thing. So I had the hormonal advantage, but that gives someone an idea of what can be achieved as a natural. And it's still quite an impressive physique, despite the fact I didn't put any substances in my body. Now, if you're looking to build my physique, you're not going to do it without drugs. Newsflash.
Although you did build quite a large amount of muscle mass when you weren't taking anything.
I was beyond what you'd call the natural limits through the calculations as a natural bodybuilder. So it was at the point where me remaining natural when people didn't think I was pointless, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone.
No.
I know what I did and didn't do as a natural athlete. But the truth remains the same. Like, I'm promoting a health conscious way of developing your body. Anyone that wants to know about performance enhancing drugs or anything else, there is information online. If you have to go online to find this information, sometimes you're perhaps not the best candidate to use these things. By default, oftentimes you actually meet these people in the gym that can advise you very well. That's not to say they're always accurate, but if anyone does have any questions relating to this, I've had a few questions recently on different consultations where they've asked me a few sort of things. I've said my honest opinion. I do promote a health-focused approach, and it's not for everyone. So I just want to get that out there as a full transparency. Many of the actual carnivore bodybuilders we know online are not natural. Even ones that aren't actually bodybuilders.
Yeah.
The fitness influencers.
Wow.
Funny.
A mentor of mine used to say that a natural body that people believe is natural is not a natural body that's worth having. And I think there's a nugget of truth to that regardless of the amount of size that you're able putting on, you should have a degree of leanness and conditioning and a certain look that people throw accusations your way. I always kind of took that as a compliment, when people will accuse you of being on drugs, whether you are or not. It really is a pat on the back. And even if Zbigniew isn't capable of achieving the same size that you had when you were natural, the whole purpose of a goal is just to motivate you to take the daily consistent action that you have to take to make that goal happen in the first place. If you set a goal and you said, listen, looking at your physique, your age, I really don't think you're going to be able to put much size on. Like, how the hell is that going to motivate him to push himself harder in the gym, to be better with his diet and hold himself to a higher standard? Not that you lie, because you certainly don't, but goals should be big enough to where they scare you a bit. They should make you a little bit nervous. They should make you lie in bed at night, think about how the hell you're going to achieve something, and they should come into your brain pretty early when you wake up in the morning and make you think, like, I have to get this done.
If you miss, you
So I
might
think
land
that's
on the
awesome.
moon. Yeah, that quote.
You may not have heard it.
Oh, shoot for the stars, and if you miss, you might land on the moon.
Yeah, sorry, I heard you. I just didn't want to cut you off in case you were going to say no.
Sorry. There's that thing, because it's hard to tell sometimes if you...
But no, I think it's good. I think you should have realistic goals, but to the point of it's almost like at the cusp of unrealistic, because you don't want to go too crazy that it's just not doable, and then you're just going to get disheartened. But like I say, push yourself.
Yeah, but just briefly before we go to the next question, my current goal is to gain, I think it's about 3 kilos of fat-free mass by the end of this year. I'm confident I can do that. But the tricky part is gaining that 3 kilos of fat-free mass without getting fat. I can gain size, fat, and muscle quite easily if I force myself to. I don't want to be so heavy that I feel horrendous. So it's that kind of health conscious approach as well.
Happy medium as well, isn't it?
My long term approach, so I think 540, 550 days from now, is to make everyone in my next competition my bitch. Everyone. I'll make them all look small.
You already make me look small.
No, the reason why I say this is I always, when I approach competition, I'm always the underdog. I'm always the one that has the bad tan because they can't afford to have a professional tanning service. Has cheap posing trunks because I can't afford to have an £80 pair of trunks that are professionally made by a custom company. The guy that has to eat all the cheap foods from the shops. The one that doesn't have a coach that they're paying $200 per month for. I have more pride out of doing it myself and doing it the hard way, because that's so much more rewarding. When I won my last competition, I can't remember what one it was now. I don't know. I've won every show I've ever lost, basically, apart from the natural ones, which were fixed. And every show that I've won, I've cried at. And that's such a sense of pride knowing that your challenge has been so much more difficult than everyone else's. You know, people have money they can throw at it. Like my YouTube channel, I had £250 spare from the money that my grandmother gave me for my birthday to invest in a second-hand laptop. Since that, in that span of time, I've gained over 3,000 subscribers, and I've built a somewhat, relatively speaking, successful business so far. I want to keep setting goals like that to inspire myself and inspire people around me. Because I know people watch these, and there's 12 people in the chat right now. There might only be 5 people commenting, but there's 7 silent observers which are watching this, thinking, what am I going to say next, and how is that going to motivate them? So I'm holding myself accountable for those people that are watching this. And the same is true for Sophie. The other day we went out to a party, and the food there wasn't right for us, basically. We couldn't do much about it. So what we had to do is we had to, soften the blow. So I had a bit of carnivore food and a bit of off-plan food. I was conscious of Sophie not going back to old ways of eating so much, so I deliberately limited myself to like 1 plate of food. I know how easy it would have been in the past to have 2 plates. Then Sophie, although she's a lot more strict nowadays, she might have had 2 plates as well. And if I had 3, she might have had 3. I'm holding myself accountable for other people and vice versa. So, mindset is everything. And the same is true with Jerome right now. He's approaching his competition soon. He's got mixed bag of feelings about that right now. I think more power to him. Whatever decision he decides to make, that's completely fine.
And it won't be an easy one, whatever decision he does make.
It'll require a lot of thought, and it won't just be, I'll sleep on it tonight and decide tomorrow. He'll be thinking about it for hours each day, probably for weeks on end. Then when he's made that decision, he'll be thinking for hours on end.
Should I not?
After the point. And that's very normal when you think carefully about these sort of things. But, we do things for ourselves, and sometimes we do things for other people as well. We can't always please everyone, so we make the best decision we can for the ultimate win, gratification on ourselves. So it might be not being a miserable Brandon's daughter. I don't know.
She'll take that option, I guarantee.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of my rambling now.
Ramblings.
So I get quite worked up when people don't like to see people overly confident. I'm very confident in my abilities because I've achieved a fucking lot in my time, and that's been off my own back. I've had a lot of help in the time as well, but as much as I've had help, I've had a lot of times where I've had to do it off my own back. So I'm very passionate about that.
Rick's here. Hello.
How's it going, Rick?
And Kyle.
Hey, Carl, how's it going? I don't know if I'm obliged to actually go for all of these.
Probably not.
Probably not. I'll just go for it anyway because it takes
I don't think they're going to cry about it.
My favourite fitness influencers are here. That's good.
Me. The muscle.
That's Sophie.
That's me.
It could be any permutation of us 3. It could be just Sophie, or Sophie and Jerome, or me and Sophie, but not Jerome.
It's probably just you 2 boys.
No.
Let's be honest. It doesn't look like
It's
I
you guys.
lived.
Hi, Michael. How's it going? Nice to see you. What are your thoughts on cold shower plunges? Are they really that good for us, or is it just a fad? I spent about 3 hours a day researching this myself.
Did you?
I had a bit of
Such
time in my hands today because I was resting because I was in bed most of the day.
He's
I was
got
actually
something
listening
about
to this whilst outside doing some grounding with simultaneous sunlight exposure. Jerome, do you want to have a crack at this one?
Sure. My understanding is there can be some physiologic benefits. I'm sure Jonathan will probably speak to some length about that. I'm sure he knows well a lot more than I do. My personal belief is the real benefit of doing a cold plunge is just conditioning yourself to do something that you don't necessarily want to do, to develop a habit out of doing things that are hard. In which case, I'm a big fan of it. I take cold showers. And the thing about cold showers is the second your head goes under cold water, you often start hyperventilating, at least until you kind of get used to it. Um, and in that regard, I'm a big fan. Um, what do you think?
Um, well, basically accelerates the conductivity of light traveling within our mitochondria.
Hmm.
Now, we use light to produce energy, and that runs through the mitochondrial transport system. So, if you have, for example, the mitochondrial cell itself, then within that cell you have organelle. In those organelle, you have different complexes. The ones that people talk about most are complex 1 and complex 5, so the start and the end of the chain. Basically, what happens with the mitochondria is they allow those complexes to spin. Imagine it is literally spinning. Apparently, I believe it's the electrons across the complex chain at a faster, more efficient rate. The way that works with cold exposure is increases the conductivity of the light between cells, basically. Now, Jack Kruse kind of explains it as something which is useful and important for people with serious diseases. It'll be useful regardless, but the main thing is getting the light exposure. So, if you're going to look at from like a standpoint of like the best health hacks, you're going to be looking at the light first, so getting adequate sunlight at the appropriate times of each day, minimizing blue light at night. Then from there, you're looking at doing the cold exposure. So if you're someone that is, for example, doing cold exposure, then choosing to work inside at home on a laptop during the day, you kind of, it's a mixed match of uses or practicalities. You're better off almost going outside with your laptop if it's possible and doing work outside there in the sunshine. So it is useful. It does work. But I think all these things are like little hacks which people can add on or take away, depending on what's practical for them. Now, cold shower. If you're someone that works in an office building all day and you're staring at a screen, that's going to be much more possible for you than going outside on your lunch break for an hour, assuming you have an hour's lunch break. So I'm probably going to err on the side of doing it rather than not doing it. I believe it also turns white fat into brown fat, which makes the what's the word? The thermogenic activity higher, the conductivity of the light quicker or more efficient. I guess the right term. Have I tried it? Yeah, a few times on and off in the past. I've not been routinely doing it. I think there's a hard limit between when you can define when it's a stress versus a distressor. So if you've got low immunity and you're going out having like frequent cold exposure, which is horrible for you, your body won't heat up back to baseline ambient room temperature quick enough. That's going to be a distressor on your body. But if your body does it quite quickly and you're not shaking for hours afterwards, by all means do it. You'll know that because you can test it. So for example, if you get up in the morning tomorrow and you get in the cold shower for like 10-20 minutes or whatever the time people do nowadays, you're coming out of it, then you're still shaking by the time you've got your clothes on later. Perhaps don't do it for a bit. Build up your tolerability to it. I'm thinking for Kyle, probably not right now, based on what I know about Kyle from speaking with him. But if you are going to do it for the sake of doing it, just do a minute for a week, in the morning, and try 2 minutes. Just build it up very slowly. Don't make it into a big thing which you stress about, because
Yeah.
you end up like Ben Greenfield, where you're sort of wearing sunglasses in an elevator because you don't have the light from the space around you, and putting earbuds in because it's too much noise or something. Life becomes miserable when you're trying to biohack everything, I think. What do you think, Sophie? Cold or not?
Um, I mean, I suppose it's quite good because you learn to control your breathing and you learn to kind of connect with yourself so that you don't, hyperventilate and all that kind of stuff. So I suppose there's probably pros and cons, but like I say, try it for a minute and just see. We did talk about this the other week, actually, didn't we? About cold showers and like getting a plunge bath or whatever they're called. Um, yeah, pros and cons. Don't really know. I've not done it. I mean, I did in a hot country because obviously it's bloody hot. It cools you down.
Jonathan, Sophie, do either one of you guys know, is it true that it increases endogenous glutathione production? I thought I heard that cold or possibly even heat exposure stimulates the same, I think, NRF2 pathway in the liver that we use to detox a lot of food.
They both do, yeah. So anytime you cause a hermetic response, your glutathione will be upregulated. The production will go up. Now it's a fine line between having it go up versus go up to the point that you're not adapting to it. So your body will always have a hermetic response to it. But you want to make sure that the adaptation process is better than the negative overall, if that makes sense.
Never knew that.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's the same with grounding. Like most stressors do that. You know, like if you sprint, for example, it does that. Then all this is nonsense. If you're having a cold shower, no, if you're having a hot bath at night, and that's maybe, or even a cold shower at night, you're going to bed and it's affecting your sleep. All this extra glutathione production is a waste of time. So don't neglect sleep for the sake of having a hot or cold shower. You know, do what makes you sleep best. That's an important recovery factor, I think.
Oh, sleep is the most important thing.
Question: has anyone determined whether a bodybuilding lifestyle, when properly managed with nutrition, has any longevity advantages over a lifestyle of no organised activity or training, but normal activity? Okay. So basically, it is. I'm going to take it from a standpoint of competitive bodybuilding versus someone like Rick who has a good nutrition stance but doesn't like go to the gym or anything. I think it depends how far you take it. I think Jerome's probably on the cusp of what is healthful and useful for longevity. Someone like myself who's holding too much weight, can't walk up a flight of stairs without being knackered. I'm not a prime example of perfect health. I'm quite open with that. But then, like I said, Jerome's right on that cusp. So if Jerome suddenly decides to take loads of gear and gain like 10 pounds of muscle, yeah, he's. I don't see that being advantageous. I'd probably say the person with normal activity will live longer. What do you think, Jerome?
Yeah,
Define normal as well, I guess.
right. I think if we're just looking at a longevity standpoint, I don't think most people have the genetic predisposition to build the abundance of muscle mass that could pose a detriment to their long-term health. Certainly, even if you're at single digit body fat your entire adulthood, if you're 275 pounds, that's going to be more stress on the heart, which could possibly take some time off the back end of your life. As far as where that line is, I think for most people, their genetics are probably going to put a hard stop to anything that's going to affect it from getting to that point. People that have the polymorphism, the Hercules gene that lets them build significantly more muscle than everybody else, I think that's something they need to consider. The Eddie Hall, Hafthor Bjornsson types, getting that big, but being the best in the world is at a trade-off that they want to make, knowing that they may not make it to, 70, 75. It's probably also worth saying that we're making inference to what we think is an appropriate answer, essentially based on speculation and our limited knowledge of physiology. A proper study to test this can never be conducted. But I think most people ought to just focus on being as strong as they can so that they're capable of living their best twilight years.
That's a good shout. Yeah. As strong as you can to deal with your natural environment, what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point carrying around an extra 10 pounds of muscle if you don't need 10 pounds of muscle worth of strength. It doesn't make sense. And if you're fighting off a big animal, you might have a bit of luck there, but that's very unlikely because we don't really have any predators around us, do we?
So now, how big are these iguanas, Rick?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you have to fight off them?
Question.
Well, maybe it's a good thing that Rick doesn't
How big are the
consistently.
iguanas,
Yeah.
Dogs?
Maybe it's a good thing he doesn't try and actually bodybuild and get huge, because then he'll start hunting alligators and crocodiles for protein.
I don't know, he eats a lot, doesn't he?
He does.
Hey, no, bad man, how's it going? That was a good question, by the way, Rick. You know what my goals are: health, body composition change, and gain some muscle. Not massive muscle. Thank you for honesty. Yeah, of course, we have to be honest about these things. It's not good to lie.
No.
I don't see benefit in telling you, oh yeah, you're going to gain this much muscle. It's going to be great. I mean, that's what I said to you before. I think if I said if by about a year from now, at the time I was like, you could probably get to about 88 kilos, maybe 90 kilos of with 10% body fat. It's quite doable. Is it possible for you? I don't know. I think Jerome kind of went into this a bit early, kind of touched on it, I think, saying, I was thinking maybe, you don't know how far you'll go until you've tried to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how far my bodybuilding longevity and career will go. I know my back won't deal with heavy weights right now, so I can't build a pro level physique as I am right now. That's not to say that I've learned a lot over the last few months, which has made my benefit from training and understanding of recovery much, much higher. So we become smarter. So, you know, attending these live chats, these videos, you'll learn a lot more over time. You understand things better about yourself, and what might be a massive detriment to your psyche, understanding that these things will take a lot of time and be quite difficult to achieve. In the long term, you think, wow, you know, I mean, I've been coaching you now for, I believe, about 3-4 months or so, just over 4 months. In that time, you've gained so much knowledge, and that's going to apply over you, and you're going to understand that. You're going to use that knowledge for the rest of your life, probably, as long as you're training. So, a good investment, I think.
It's always good to remember that I think the longer you take for some of your goals, the better. Because, like, I've lost, 51 kilos since 2020. Had I have done that in, like, a year, it wouldn't have been sustainable, because I would have put my body through so much stress in such a short space of time. I wouldn't have been able to cope with it, and I probably would have undone everything that I'd done. Whereas I've taken, almost 3 years to do that, and it stayed off. Okay, it went on a little bit with pregnancy, but that's bound to happen. But it stayed off for most of it. So it's good that he's not expecting results kind of tomorrow. He's happy that it's going to take a year.
Very mature man.
Yeah.
I wish I had that approach when I was a bit younger and thought, I wish, like I think we said, Jerome, was it about 2 weeks ago, I was like, I wish I invested all the money that I had spare on like learning this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll save so much time and hassle, you know. We've got a super chat, Jerome. This will be invested into our secret fund of coins. Thank you very much, Declan. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Put it into a fund. Very good. All right, what am I doing? Hit the like button or you'll get punched in the head. I love that.
From a distance, I thought it was a bee. I thought it was saying like knock knock bee or something.
I thought it was a bee as well, because it was like black and yellow, because it comes up on a screen like that big.
Like tiny.
Sure.
Doesn't say, why are we punching bees?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, cheers, Jamie. Appreciate that. If you've got any questions, Jamie, now's a good time. Time to chuck them in. We're on a roll here. It's an amazing channel which is made better with people like you commenting. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I don't get many people in these live chats which are like horrible people.
No.
Or any, I don't think.
No, as a moderator, I've not had to decline anyone's kind of message or anything like that, or have words with anyone.
I think someone put the word steroid in there once. I've blocked on certain words in this channel so people don't try and ask these sort of questions. But if you do have any sort of related questions, that it's a consultation question. And I probably won't give you the answer you want, to be honest. It'll probably be something like, don't take them. In most cases, at least. I get to work every day. Not something I necessarily want to do. Lol. Does that count instead of getting my cold shower?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if it messes up your sleep though, because you're dealing with arseholes, then I don't know.
Maybe find a new job.
Carl seems quite happy-go-lucky. I think he's. I say I think. I'm not going to assume things, but I think he's got quite a pleasant life and work life. Very good. What's up, Declan? Thank you again for your kind donation. Most of the money I actually make through this is through super chats, and these live stream videos, the hour ones we do, tend to make me approximately 30 British pence.
Doesn't go
Which is
far nowadays.
It's like 35 cents. I don't think it even pays for one of you guys' eggs.
Not a single egg, no.
It's fantastic.
But I enjoy these. It's nice to connect with other people.
Yeah.
And kind of spreads awareness about what I do, what Jerome does, and give Sophie some experience as well in front of the camera. Because when I first started doing these YouTube videos, everything was scripted. It's so hard to talk to the camera. Now it's becoming a lot easier. I'm not quite as awkward as I used to be.
No, I'm still not very confident. I still absolutely hate it, but I get better, hopefully.
Jerome's got natural flair.
He does. He seems very natural in front of the camera.
I've just been doing this for a really, really long time. But thank you.
Deploying supraphysiological doses of algorithm alone. That sounds like
Sounds like something you'd say.
yeah, sounds like that'd go on more plates, more dates or something. for the algorithm.
For the algorithm.
I think Declan and I watch the same kind of videos sometimes. I don't watch many YouTube videos nowadays, guys. I watch most of Bart's stuff, all of Harry's stuff, Harry Spanos, Bro Chat. I think big bodybuilding. Can't think who else actually. I watch some of Claire's stuff.
Yeah. I feel like there's some dude that you might listen to, but I just can't think of
Lives
his
in
name.
Wisconsin or something. I don't know.
I don't really know.
18-minute fitness.
Or is it 20 minutes? I don't really know.
20 minutes. Well, sounds like such a fad. 18 minutes.
What a precise number.
Wish I could last 18 minutes.
18 seconds.
I was going to call it 15-minute fitness, and that was a copyrighted company out in California.
Yeah.
So I rounded up to 18 because I figured it carries a certain positive connotation. When you're 18, you can drink. Or not. Well, some places you can drink, you can smoke, you can vote, you can have sex. So I figured rounding up just probably would get some people's attention. And then I also wanted to start with a number so that in most business directories that I was featured in, I would be right at the top.
The start.
So that it was somewhat strategic.
Wise. Yeah, that's wise
Smart
move.
thinking.
Yeah, also I guess you could fit in with 2-minute breaks and like 5 or 6 sets like on exercise with a 2-minute break between each one, about a minute of a set maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
18 is a bit more like peculiar, but 20 is a bit too generic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 sounds like something you'd like. Like, so you read in a magazine, like, oh, build your arms with 20 sets. Just sounds too generic.
See, I would have been the awkward one to then somehow calculated how many seconds 18 minutes is and then called it that. Just to really confuse people. So people are trying to calculate what this is.
I'd love to train at Jerome's studio.
It does look
Honestly,
pretty good.
I'd love to just go nuts in there of like giant set, like massive circuit training. Excellent.
Pretty much how I do it.
Yeah. That's funny. At my height, having a steroid pump physique would be a scary sight. Iguanas are easy for me to handle as well as ducks, just to avoid the claws.
You got to file their claws down. Give them a manicure.
I saw a giant lizard the other day, well, about a week or two ago actually, at a party, and they were saying you can get either one on their own, or you can get one male and 2 females, but you can't have 2 males. Apparently they go nuts.
Right.
Something like that. There's some sort of obvious reason for it.
Alphas, maybe.
Alphas or whatever.
Maybe just get into fights.
Yeah. Joe Schwartz vowed last night on YouTube to gain muscle, get lean, and become a monster.
Who's that guy?
I don't know. That's why I asked
Some
you.
dweeb.
But honestly, like if you look at how narrow his frame is, right? His shoulders are not that far apart, and you can just kind of look at his physique. I don't think he has that great a potential to put, a whole lot of size on. But I also know he says a lot of things on his channel to get a reaction out of people. So I don't know. I suppose we'll see how he does.
Frank Tofano did the same thing, didn't he? A few years ago, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to build my muscular physique and sell my ebook plan." And I was like, "Yeah, he's got a respectable lean physique, but he's not a bodybuilder." Like I changed his physique within about 6 weeks of training.
So that's interesting too, because I also recall with that individual saying that exercise has a negative impact on longevity with our friend Bart, and he was unable to substantiate that position. So who knows?
And I do wonder how he's going to gain muscle without exercise.
I had an interesting conversation today with Carnivore Vitality. I don't know his name, which it's my own fault. I'm guilty of that. He seemed to be quite a nice chap, actually. I think he's Australian. It seems to be going the right direction. Like, he's sort of putting out useful information now, not crap. Not everything he put out was crap, but it is like, sort of same clickbaity thing which people subscribe to because it sort of entertains their brainwaves, but it doesn't actually give them any information. But now he seems to be doing a lot better, that guy, and lost the point now. I interviewed Joey actually and asked him how his muscle gaining's been on the carnivore diet, and he says it's improved it all, apparently. But I don't know. He needs to substantiate that claim. I'm very rude, aren't I?
Naughty.
Yeah, I don't really care. I'm not about spiting people on this channel. I'll say things tongue in cheek, but I don't really have a intent to piss people off or be nasty to people. It doesn't benefit me, and it probably doesn't benefit them either, and it just causes issues which I can't be arsed with.
No, you're too old for that, aren't you?
Too old.
Too old.
Someone thought I was about 40 the other day.
I can see
Graham's
that.
secretly smiling, and he's I knew it. You can't believe he's like, yes,
Clearly they think I go for the older man.
the older gentleman. Yeah, more plates, more dates. Yeah, unfortunately. Any vids I watch are yours, Jerome's, and Harry. Bart stuff is good, love him, but I can't bother 1 hour long videos calling people stupid. Yeah, Declan, these videos are to get people watching, to keep people entertained. Thing is, most people make wrong videos online. They're about 15, 20 minutes long sometimes. I've worked out it takes about 3 times as long as the actual initial video to critique the video itself that you're critiquing. So unless someone sends them like a 5-minute clip, it's always going to be like a 45-minute to an hour long video. Without him like sort of skipping loads of it. But Bart wants to be critical from start to finish. He's like me, he doesn't want to sort of
Skip bits.
because sometimes you can miss context and people say something, but then it's like he's talking about something 10 minutes before, which is kind of different to what he just said. But I'm sure someone could snip these videos up and make me sound like I'm calling Joey an arsehole or something. The reality is I've not said that. I've just said a few negative comments about his physique, I think. I don't know.
I feel like that's the more honest approach too, is to play the video in its entirety, or at least certain segments in their entirety. I watch a lot of Bart's stuff, and I'm kind of the same way as what Declan said. But I watch everything on 2 times speed, and what really drew me to Bart is he's probably the smartest guy I've ever heard speak about human physiology, and I just have such a respect for that. That even if I'm not the biggest fan of playing into the algorithm, having spoken with Bart, he's still an incredibly sweet, really smart guy, and I hold him in really high regard.
He's right.
Top notch.
I'm video calling him later in about 5 plus 4, 9 hours. It's gonna be 5 a.m. So you guys in the chat now, when I interview Bart and he comes on my channel and you're asking questions, I'm often doing this at stupid o'clock in the morning. That's why the lighting's always off. I look tired. I don't make sense.
Because of the time
Because
difference.
the time difference is impossible. But if I want to have in my channel, that's
You've got to do it.
it's got to be done. You know,
That
he's
means
volunteering his time as well. So
with your short sleep schedule, everybody needs to blow up Jonathan's DMs tonight so he has trouble sleeping.
No, because I get affected too.
I respond to too many things. More plates, more dates. More plates, more dates, meaning the more weight you stack on the machine, the more chicks you'll pick up down the bar. Apparently. I've never noticed this, to be honest.
Yeah, it's somewhat ironic.
So I don't
In
really
a
pick
lot
up
of
chicks.
ways, the bigger you get, you tend to get more attention from other dudes in the gym, kind of asking you what you're doing. And if anything, you probably get girls that look at you less because you either so in the zone with what you're doing or you're making a bunch of noise like an animal that they just think, the hell with this guy.
Thank God for that. It is. We actually had this conversation like the other month. I seem to check out other women and he checks out other men because I'm looking at their physique being like, oh, I'd love, bum like that or glutes like this or whatever. And then he's checking out the men to be like, oh, well, look at his shoulders. I wonder what he does. I'm like, well, thankfully, we're not checking out the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Glad it's just men in his DMs and not women.
What bugs me is there's like these 5'4" men out there with probably 15-inch calves. And their calves are bigger than mine, and I'm 6'1" and I have 18+-inch calves. It's an absolute travesty.
It's just because they're short.
I hate that. It pissed me off. Yeah, yeah. Let's go to the next topic, shall we? Bart's toned down the profanity. Yes, he has. Quite a bit, actually. Yes.
I haven't watched this stuff for a while, actually. We're doing about Coldbridge. Pick up, yeah. So Rick doesn't really watch much telly, does he? He wouldn't know.
I think he watches any.
No.
Sorry, I was laughing at Rick's comment about how it wasn't dates in a calendar.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Bless him.
Life is good. My kids, aged 8, girl, and 5, boy, are assholes sometimes. Love them. Love them, though. Happy wife, happy life, and a good job supporting Canada's search and rescue helicopters. Fantastic. Yeah, I was going to ask about the helicopter in your profile there. Makes sense now.
I love the fact that you're honest that they're arseholes.
I wanted to ask you guys, actually, so I'm getting quite maybe physically and mentally worn out of doing lots of lives each week. It's not so much the time I spent here for like the hour or so that I do these up to 5 times per week on different channels. It's more the fact that it's late at night. So some of these, like tomorrow, for example, will be at 8:30 p.m. I won't put down the screen until 10 p.m. It's very late for me. I'm one of those people that goes to bed early and need their sleep. So I was proposing an idea that perhaps I do one of these live style sessions a week with Jerome. It might be that it's an hour and a half long, so a bit longer maybe. I was just wondering what you guys thought towards it being either a Monday or a Friday. Either one is really a nuisance to me. So it doesn't really matter because I'd have Bart's live on the Saturday anyway, and the Carnivore Coach's Corner on the Tuesday. So just thought I'd ask you guys. I mean, the Monday does seem to be the most popular from what I can tell. But you guys let me know in the chat. Just don't say, oh, I want you to do it Monday, and you never turn up Monday, because that would really upset me. This is for you guys. This is the free
content.
Free content. Oh my, I just put 2 and 2 together. Yo, Rick, I just listened to your interview with Dr. Chafee. Man, you're interesting. Cool to see you, man. Yeah, Rick is a mainstay feature of my channel. He's the reason we're all here. Vincent, that's his name. Yeah, I'm actually meeting Dr. Baker and Dr. Chafee in England in
Couple of months. May 20th? In Sheffield.
I think the May 20th in Sheffield. It's quite far up north for us, about 3 hours away. It'll be quite a nice event for us to go to, and I do have the link to buy tickets on my website. But if you type in PHC UK space Sheffield, it should come up. If not, type in that plus Dr. Chafee or something like that. You'll find something there, and it will talk about. It's basically a public health forum convention which happens every year. I'm a VIP guest. Apparently, it's having the second largest carnivore-based channel in the country of England. For some reason, I have some sort of say in things. I don't know. Apparently, so yeah, I've been asked to promote this. Basically, I'm going to it. Sophie is going to it as well. If anyone is in England and they're looking to go, I believe a one-day ticket is about 110, 120 British pounds. It is only in England, so don't ask me if it will be in a different country, because it's not. I often get this sort of question, can you do your Q&As in a different time zone? I'm like,
Nope.
no, because I'm asleep at that time zone. So
Pairs enough, and yeah.
I can't fulfill everyone's satisfaction.
No, but pairs enough. I'm going to try.
Pairs enough.
But that's a.
I did consider
people
this
can
actually
always
doing like one late Q&A. But
I was going to say, people can always leave questions in the comments too, and we
Yeah.
try and go through and address any of those in future videos. So don't be dissuaded if you're not actually able to catch any of these live. Leave something in the comments below. Me, Jonathan, Sophie, one of us will see it, and we'll make sure to get to it as soon as we can.
Yeah.
it is helpful as well. Sometimes these don't start very quickly, so we can always be prompted with a question beforehand. So Jerome's been very good at actually doing that in the past. A few Q&As where he's offered the question given by his viewers or my viewers, able to actually put it out there. So yes, very good. Jerome is familiar with my background a bit more, but pre-carnivore and pre-HRT, I barely made genes at all. No genetic gifts hit. After switch, I got lean and strong fast. Very good.
Yeah, Declan's progress has been awesome. He's sent me a lot of his numbers from his workouts, and we've bounced around a lot of ideas back and forth. Really smart guy, really hardworking. Sent me a couple of videos of some of his sets, and it's just been awesome and really motivating to me to watch your progress.
It does seem to me he takes it seriously. I mean, probably of all the people I've consulted with, he probably takes it more seriously in terms of the gym stuff. I know that much for definite. I've seen his spreadsheets and stuff, and it's crazy work when you see how hard someone can actually train. Then you look at the sets, you're like, oh, you're doing that like twice every 8-9 days. It's like, yeah, I can kind of see why. I mean, if you're not built in such a genetic way to deal with lots of volume, then that's going to rip you apart. Carnivore is so good for muscle building. I wonder why I've stayed so skinny for so long. I think it's because you're like 6'5" or something. That's probably why. Probably part. Also, you have to go to the gym as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only going to be as muscular as your natural adaptation processes allow. If you went to the gym, Rick, you might gain an inch in your arms in like a few months, but then you might not. Then you might get bigger calves, but then you might not. So I'd like to see Rick do one of mine or Jerome's muscle building programs. Get an inch within a week.
It's hard to know whether you actually would or not. Like, what
I'll
would
have to fly down to
happen?
Miami and put him through a workout.
Just one. That'll be it for the year. I think.
Record
Yeah,
it,
just-
yes.
One workout, grab a steak, and then just fly back to Wisconsin.
Grab an iguana.
Yeah, take an iguana with you.
Get bigger and updating a guy. That's quite a concept. Yeah. Yeah, it's awkward being tall. Rick, Jerome's quite tall as well. Rick will definitely. It's very awkward being tall. It doesn't serve you any benefit in clubs.
I'm all right. I'm quite sure I can just slip through the crowd.
Slip through the crowd.
Although it does have its downsides being short. Because then I'm always at the
downside.
downside, yeah. Because then I'm always at the front of things, which sometimes I don't want to be. I always have to pick things up off the floor because I'm closer to the floor.
I think Rick needs to start a YouTube channel where he starts exercising, and then he can call it More Iguanas, More Hot Mamas.
Oh yeah. That'd be such like a niche cult following, wouldn't it? Be like 100 followers going nuts for it on every single live, sending
Yeah,
them
but
like maximum $100 donations.
be 100 people strong though.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, I mean, I look at my live stream, I look at other people with like 100,000 subscribers and think, I've got quite a few people in my live premieres quite a lot of the time, considering how small my channel is.
Yeah, you've got your consistent like 15 to 20 or so, haven't you?
Usually, yeah. I am very upset about my video that I made and Jerome's video. We have not had the hit in the algorithm that I'd hoped for. Not good. Less than 100 views. 2 excellent videos. 1 motivational leg day in the gym. 1 informative hip surgery training video. Half an hour long.
Fantastic.
With associated presentation, visual aid and effect.
All round package.
Or in package. I think Jerome's equally pissed off.
Honestly, I'm more concerned. I'm just hoping that it gets to someone who needs to see it. And I kind of take the same approach with my business. Like I would like my business here to be a lot busier, but I know that the people I have, I'm helping and they couldn't get help from elsewhere. I'm probably about to sign my third 80-plus-year-old young lady. But I have a client that no longer has to use her 4-point walker. I have another 80-year-old that her posture's improving. I have a lady with rheumatoid arthritis that can play with her kids because her last personal trainer said, sorry, I can't do anything for you. The numbers don't concern me so much. My concern is, are the people that need it getting that information, and are they able to have a real improvement in quality of life? So if that presentation only ever gets 100 views, but it helps one person who needs it, that awesome.
Job done, yeah.
Yeah, you can. Jerome and I could get any newbie 18-year-old lifter to build muscle in any program we wanted them to. We could put one set per week or 100 sets per week. Something will happen. But the people that need this specific advice, which is going to be so tailored to them, from Jerome about time to tension, static contractions, multiple body parts in a given workout, the correct form, safe equipment. And even just like the aspect of speaking to someone that understands them and listens to them, like Jerome will quite happily spend an extra 10 minutes with someone or a quarter of an hour with someone outside of the usual cost per session to make sure they understand it and see the benefit from it. Not only will he'll get them as a repeated client, they'll learn more from that session. More likely to come back. It builds up that rapport with people.
Yeah, more likely to recommend, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. Very good. Oh, Lamb's in the chat. Wait, what?
You just
Lambs.
skipped him. Poor Lambs.
Poor Lambs. Whoops, sorry, Lambs. I better pin that comment.
He's glad you're here, Lambs. Don't worry.
Very good. Excellent. Not necessary to do as much in the live stream. Your sleep is more important.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I like doing these, and people. I can't remember who I spoke this about. I think it is Jerome. Jerome made like the half-hour video of the day. Between me and him me uploading and him creating the video itself, that could have taken like God knows how many hours to do. Especially on Jerome's end, like what you guys see in these like videos, even if I've clipped off a video to make like us answering a question, like a 10-minute quick video, that's taken me 2 hours to do. And I'll make like 20p on that video. It's meant to be accessible for you guys so you can actually understand it and gain something from it. I'm trying to diversify my content at the moment so I can apply to more people, because there is no one out there doing the carnivore diet right now outside of Sean Baker, sort of doing some rowing and some bodybuilding sort of stuff, like weight training stuff. No one's talking about bodybuilding at the moment. Yet everyone on the carnivore diet near enough wants to improve their physique. It seems counterintuitive to not take this approach. I could do the same thing as everyone else and interview hundreds of people, talking about how great the diet is, say the same thing over and over again, same information. It's not providing any value to people. It doesn't provide much impact after a certain point. I don't know. I'm just getting a bit fed up with it, and I can see myself having the skill set. Jerome having this skill set to understand training, building a physique, and Sophie's developing her own knowledge as well. We have an opportunity here to improve ourselves and everyone else around us.
Yeah.
And it's pivotal that we take this opportunity.
And inspire people.
Inspire.
Well, and in a lot of ways, like sometimes having a more of a bodybuilding physique can be a detriment in some people's eyes, because there's a lot of people that will look at Jonathan and I guess me if I'm in shape and will say that like, I don't want to look like that. And it's like, I get it, but not only one, do you probably not have the genetic potential to build an abundance of muscle mass, but two, it takes a long time. And truthfully, the same people that are trying to lose maybe 20, 30 pounds and build a little size and a little bit of strength kind of want to go to a bodybuilder, at least one that's intelligent, that because we're just taking that same process to its extreme. We're just trying to maximize the amount of muscle mass that we can carry while having a respectably low degree of body fat. The same fundamentals apply. We're doing the same thing. We're just achieving at a higher level.
Yeah. Yes, I completely agree. The amount of people I consult with or just speak with, and I'd say about 80% of them will say, I don't want to build huge muscles.
Yeah.
I'm like, tell me what your goals are. They can't define to me how much muscle they want to gain or how much fat they want to lose. So, it's very subjective. I'll see me and Jerome and think, that will happen. It won't just happen.
Yeah.
I promise you guys, it won't just happen. What we can do is get every one of us close to our goals, and it will take a lot of time. But you can do that quicker. That's why we're here, to make the process a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and a lot more satisfying when you actually see the results in the mirror, and you're not sort of wasting time watching hours and hours of videos which don't give you any value, don't explain things properly, clickbait, useless nonsense, which it doesn't really apply to most people.
And I can definitely vouch for it, because I think since I've been obviously following your advice and, listening to Jerome and all the other influences that there are that you kind of trust, I look in the mirror and I can see more like improvement, more progress, and I don't seem to hate it as much. Like I walked around town and I just caught a glance in like a window and I was like, oh no, it is changing.
You can receive good advice from anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Bart Kay's not a bodybuilder.
No.
I deliberately ask him, one, because I like him, two, because he's good for show. He's a good personality to have on my YouTube channel. But three, if you don't believe me, who is a bodybuilder, of me teaching how to bodybuild, here's someone that isn't a bodybuilder, but is a professor in exercise physiology. That will tell you how to look like a bodybuilder. So you've got both sides of it there, and it's pretty... It just blows my mind, like, more people aren't catching on to this. People don't realise the benefits of training itself when they actually go into the gym and start training. They don't see it as this like euphoric thing. Probably because they've been drilled into themselves since a young age that it's such this
like a chore,
yeah, difficult, sweaty. It's gonna be sweaty because you're unfit. It's gonna be sweaty because it's a stress. It's new. At a certain point, you begin to enjoy it, and people never get to that point because they can't get past that little hurdle. The same thing when people start the carnivore diet, they don't realise how much they enjoy training. So we got Rick in the chat right now. He may never want to train his life, but he'll never know what it'll feel like to train and get in the gym and lift some weights until he does it. He might give it a fair try. He might do 6 to 8 weeks and think, oh, that was rubbish, didn't enjoy that, feel worse. But at least he's tried it, and at least then he's known this wasn't for me. Training is for anyone that wants to do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can benefit from it. It's not a reserved thing for people like me and Jerome that are bodybuilders. It's not this unusual thing which we shouldn't be doing. We can build our bodies, we can get better, and we can get stronger.
I'm living proof of it here.
Show us the muscles.
Oh no, it's the wrong side, isn't it?
Quickly. Raise. Twist. No, that way.
Yep.
Emphasise the peak.
Supinate the wrist.
That's it.
That's the weaker one.
Jerome's wearing a tight shirt and he can't lift his arms because it'll make it rip, so I won't let him.
They'll just pop. Yeah, there's like the next button down that's off screen is already about to split open. So.
Bursting at the seams.
Yeah. It's because he's too hench.
Too hench.
Mountain of a man.
I'm an aircraft maintenance engineer by trade. Worked for Air Canada Express for 11 years on regional aircraft. Don't miss the shift work. Life is much better now. Worked on Air Baltics aircraft too.
Oh.
Interesting. My both my granddads were engineers, British Airways, and my stepdad co-owned a company which deals with most of the major airlines in the UK. So it's like dealing with equipment, aircraft on the ground, having the right tool for the right job. It's amazing how much people pay for a bit of metal. I'll tell you that much. But 26 grand for a piece of metal that big.
Yeah.
But it's mad. It's
They need it.
captive audience on demand. Monday, please. The missus don't like sharing on Monday. Friday. Yeah, fair enough.
This is probably
Question
our last
for
question,
Jonathan.
isn't it?
Probably the last question, I
Yeah.
think. There's one more. Right, no more questions after whatever's up on the screen. So we've got one from Declan, one from Kyle. Anything else will be a super chat request. Question for Jonathan. What are your thoughts on the influence of body fat percentage in nutrient partitioning? Leaner equals better partitioning. Yes, I think so. I think there's a law of diminishing returns. I think that the closer you get to shredded, the more issues will happen as a result of being shredded. So that benefit in nutrient partitioning may be actually worse. I don't think you'll suddenly get to 4% body fat, then all of a sudden everything turns into muscle. I think there becomes a point where your body will start to hold fat more and more, so you get leaner and leaner. But now saying that, I think there's a sensitivity to the protein that hits your bloodstream, and how that gets partitioned into net protein turnover. Once you get to a lean point, maybe 10% body fat, it's like quite visible abs. Beyond that, I don't think there's any extra benefit. What do you think, Sophie?
I won't lie, I have absolutely no idea.
Basically, what he's asking is, so you can be very lean, like very low body fat. When you get to very low body fat, your body deals with nutrients better, so you don't store as much fat.
Right.
So, for example, someone like Yaya, who's like 50% body fat, she's grandmother, Sophie's grandmother, Yaya,
It's
50%
Greek.
body fat. Is she going to have better ability to deal with nutrient uptake into muscle tissues versus fat, or is someone like me going to?
I'd like to think it's the one with the least body fat. But then I suppose it depends how your body works. Like, just because you've got 10% body fat, your health might still be fucked and you can't take in the nutrients that you need. Like, I have, just under 30% body fat. I mean, I probably look like I have more, just because obviously the way I carry it. But it might be that I take in nutrients better than you do, or you take it in better than me.
You
Don't really know.
can deal with things differently.
Yeah, I think it all depends on your genetics as well, doesn't it? That probably plays a factor into it.
Like how long, for example, my area under the curve of glucose will be in my bloodstream for versus Sophie. I'm leaner than Sophie, but it might not necessarily mean that I have by default a better tolerance to glucose. I probably do. Probably do. But
I think it's one of them things that you're never going to know 100%. Because I don't even think, is there studies that can actually be accurate for these kind of things?
well,
I don't really know.
nutrient partitioning is, as Bart Kay would say, it's a construct in itself. We understand what it means and how it works, but you need a study of someone, a mixed group of participants with 100 men, 100 females, that are high body fat, say 30% plus, and also 100 male, 100 female, which are 10% or below. I'm pretty certain the leaner lot will have a better disposition to deal with glucose in the bloodstream and gain more muscle, but at the same time, there will be outliers. There's always going to be outliers. So, yeah. What do you think, Jerome? You're probably going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I would piggyback
Yeah.
on what you guys said. I would suspect there would be something kind of like a bell curve distribution where past a certain level of leanness for some people, and you probably have some uptake issues or lose efficiency. I know on the heavier set side, I made a note to myself when you were talking. Doug McGuff gives a video presentation where he talks about treating obese patients and certain muscles of the trunk he would suspect due to their size and the amount of weight that they have to carry would be normal size, or if anything, slightly hypertrophic because of just having to move that much body weight. But he found that in the majority of patients that he's treating for whatever this condition was, this muscle atrophied to the point where it's basically as thick as a pencil. And he was suspecting that the fat was prioritizing a lot of nutrient uptake over the muscle. And I don't want to speak for him, so I'll find that video and try and clip that and put that in the comments as well. But the idea of me bringing that up is I suspect people that are tremendously heavy might have a reduced ability to shunt nutrition to essentially where it needs to go as part of just a more generalized idea of metabolic syndrome.
Yeah. Your chronically high insulin levels, body's not shuttling the things in the right places, bone mineral density goes down after a certain point. I theorize that's because I'm talking about like very obese people here, people that can barely move.
Yep.
Because they have no load on their body, therefore their bone mineral density will go down. Like Wolf's law, if you're not giving your body the stress to deal with the load on the spine, for example, it's not going to build itself big and strong. It's just going to be weak and useless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good question. This is super funny. More iguanas and more hot mamas.
Yes, definitely much respect for Jerome.
Thank you.
And for Jonathan, who help people as well.
I help some people.
Some people. Not me, I learned it all myself.
I just like the consultations where I get these really good questions which make me think. Because then I actually learn something because I've come to my own conclusion about it after thinking about it.
But then sometimes you think about it even after the consultation, you're then talking to me about it and you're like fixated on it that you then just like zone in and Google and research. And I'm like, what was the question in the first place?
Yeah, I'm quite guilty of that.
Yeah. You're passionate. That's good.
Yeah, I don't think there's not a study for everything and there's not a anecdote for everything.
No.
But one day something will come up and I'm like, this is way beyond my scope. And sometimes it does.
And you're honest. You then say, I can't help you, go to this person. Or...
Yeah, I'm very upfront and honest with people what my specialty is. Like in Bart K's live Q&A the other day, I sort of said, well, that's a pathophysiology question. I've done one module on it. I kind of understand it, but I couldn't really give a proper answer to this. So I'm going to go with what you say, Bart, and just kind of affirm the same thing. So a question from Kyle. When you do a push-pull leg split, do you perform it all in one day or rest days in between each? Just started doing splits, trying to figure out if full body or push-pull...
Push-pull legs, he means.
Legs is better. Correct. Okay.
I think...
Yeah, so when we look at this sort of thing, the dash between each body part refers to the fact that it's on a separate day. So, for example, someone could do a push-pull legs upper lower split. That's usually what I put someone on that's doing a 5-day per week plan, but does not want to train less than 5 days per week. That seems to be the most sensible way of doing it while splitting up the volume, whilst not completely overtraining them. Probably is on the side of the overtraining if they're training the way that I'd advocate or Jerome would advocate. Do you put one day? Yeah, so you have a rest day between each. Depends how many sessions you're having per week. So if you're doing 3 sessions of weights per week, ideally split up as much as humanly possible. I would always do push before pull. And legs you can put either side. But the thing is, legs will always be either side because that's just the order that's in.
Yeah.
But push should always be before pull. Some people have individual weaknesses where they wouldn't want to strain their lower back on the pull day at the risk of neglecting their leg day. So, for example, they need to build up the quads, and the exercise they have to do that is a barbell back squat that requires a lot of load on their lower back. So they might actually put the push before legs, then do pull the day after legs or 2 days after legs. So there's some individual variation, but that's what a lot of people advocate. The reason why I put push before pull is that in my lifts and most people that I know, doing it that way won't cause as much of a detriment to your strength gains versus doing pull then push. It's the grip factor basically. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point about people's lower backs. I generally start people full body workouts if they want to work out more frequently. Well, maybe I should just say that so much of this is going to be dependent on your progress chart, and hopefully you're writing everything down with your workouts. And the reason to go from a full body workout to an upper lower split, or maybe a push pull leg split, or maybe some kind of 4-way or 5-way split, is largely going to be determined by your progress. And between switching your routine or just switching the frequency of your workouts, or maybe the volume of your workouts, these are all dials that you might have to adjust to find what fits not only something that's going to produce continual results, but your own personal preferences. Sometimes people like to work out 2 to 3, maybe even 4 times a week. And that's a scenario that I would split somebody's whole body over at least 2 different workouts. But in general, push-pull legs, I think, is probably best for people that want to work out 2 to 3 days a week. And otherwise, if it's just about trying to get decent results, but maybe not spending as much time at the gym, full body workouts are probably an upper-lower split. Sorry, I can't really give too precise an answer.
I can give you a bit more context. So I know Kyle has some heavy dumbbells, a weights bench, soft padded flooring, and a rowing machine at home. Yep. But that's all I think he has from memory, and a yoga ball. So he's not going to be doing very intense stuff, for example, for legs or for back, unless it's like a single arm dumbbell row. There's a bit limited equipment there, so yeah, maybe he would benefit from doing more frequency. So it might be that he's doing like an upper lower sort of split or something. Yeah.
I think go on your recovery, because it says he says at the end, trying to figure out if full body or the split is better. Do a push pull leg split for a couple of weeks. Compare it to your recovery from when you did your full body. I think it also depends how much time you have. Do you have time to do a good full body workout however many times a week you want to? Because I know that if I'm doing a full body, if I've only got one day that I can train that week, then that is what I'll be doing. But if I've got 3 or 4, then I will do a split. But it's just because I don't have all the time to spend like an hour and a half doing a full body or something. So I think go with what your recovery says. If you recover better with a full body and it works for you, if it's not broke, why fix it? Do you know what I mean? Providing you're getting the gains that you want and you're improving in your strength and you're recovering really well, I don't think you have to do a split. Well, I know you're trying to figure out what's better, and that's all personal, isn't it? It's all individually.
It's very individual. I mean, I have an inkling here, Dream, that you might benefit from upper lower kind of split, just because he lacks the exercise variety without doing loads of calisthenic things for legs to train his legs very hard.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking a bit more frequency, but lower volume might be more beneficial. Just because he can't kill his legs with a barbell back squat, for example, but he can do some goblet squats or some split squats.
Go on, Jerome.
There we go. Sorry. You guys paused on my end for a little bit.
We did, yeah. We did it deliberately.
Because we saw you get ready.
We heard you breathe. You were like...
I think that was me. As much water as I'm drinking with contest prep, sometimes that's just to hold a little intrathoracic pressure so I don't pee my pants.
Yeah, he's having a hard time putting a muscle. I'll dump all the cardio you're doing. All of it. All of it. Rest adequately between sets. Make sure all your sets are really hard work. You can try cluster sets, rest pause sets. Find a way to make the stimulus that you can provide your muscles as hard as physically possible. So Kyle is really fit. I don't know if you saw, but he's the guy doing skipping and stuff and rowing on Instagram.
I don't know if I saw.
Like really, this guy's seriously fit. Like not like an average sort of like gym bro. So yeah, I'd probably dump all that stuff out if you're probably quite efficient at doing it. Not expend a lot of energy, but I'd err on the side of caution and just do a bit less if possible. Split it up as far as possible from your workouts as well, so it doesn't interfere with recovery as much or training. How's it going?
Better late than never.
That's fine. Sophia's jacked.
Well, thank you. Get in there.
Sophie's got bigger arms than most people I've ever spoken with. I'm talking about muscle as well.
Slowly getting there.
Tried the gym in the 1990s, never got any results in months, so I gave up.
Fair enough. Have you tried it?
Have you tried consulting with Jerome or myself?
No, I'm going to
You might. The thing is as well, Rick might have done it for 4 months. But if he did it for 4 months in one day, he might have got some sick gains. You never know unless you quit. Wait, doesn't make sense, does it?
No, you never know to try.
Yeah, that's it. So for pull-up bar too. Yeah, slow negatives on the pull-up bar. Static holds. I think, Carl, you might have seen my video recently where I did concentric, isometric, and eccentric failure. You could probably do all 3 of those, like 1 or 2 sets. You could do that probably twice a week in an upper body session. Decline push-ups off the floor. Incline dumbbell press. Add a band if you've got one to do push-ups as well. Find ways to make it more difficult. There's probably quite a lot you can do. I mean, I maintain my muscle doing calisthenic stuff, so I'm sure everyone else can.
Stick one of your kids on your back.
Stick a kid in the back.
Or just hold them.
Hold them.
While you do it, providing you don't need your arms.
You could get a quality dip belt for like 25 or $30 on Amazon too. And then if you have dumbbells that go up to 95, you should be able to get enough overload doing pull-ups.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
That's about the lot, I think. Right, we'll go for another 2 or 3 minutes. Just 'cause I know Jerome's waiting to go for a pee.
It's fine, I can
You
handle
test him. Poor Jerome.
it. I can't wait to, honestly, I can't wait to be done drinking all this water. I know I'm drinking more than most people in a contest prep, but my coach and what I've done in the past is it's not so much how you're drinking the couple of days leading up to the competition and on the morning of the show, is if you're conditioning a habit and then you gradually reduce your water intake the last couple of days before the show. If I can have, a quart of water for the entire day on the day of the competition, where most people might be on like a 2-day dry fast, generally feel a little bit better on the day of the show if I can have some water. But it makes the couple of months leading up to that point pretty rough. Just basically using the bathroom about once an hour.
Yeah, and the day of the show, I don't really drink much water. I'll probably, leading up to the morning show and the night show, I'll probably drink about half a litre at most.
Yeah.
That's about it. But
so usually what
it's
I
not
do
like
is
deliberate. I'm just trying not to be bloated, basically. That's all.
I normally have about 2 gallons a day leading up until the Wednesday before a Saturday show. And then Wednesday, I cut it in half. Thursday, I cut it in half. Friday, I cut it in half. And the morning of the prejudging, just tiny sips until the prejudging is over. And then I'll relax a little bit on fluid, nothing crazy, up until the evening show.
Whenabouts is your show again?
The 22nd? Yeah.
Not long.
So
A couple of weeks.
3 weeks, just under 3 weeks.
When are we going to practice posing?
When am I gonna? Oh yeah, I probably should start. Well, maybe I'll start sending you some videos. I'm putting together like a $0 documentary, kind of kind of showing this whole contest prep process, my starting condition, me taking, showing how my body's changing and giving some snippets to my life. And I'm hoping by the time this weekend is over to have a 30-second, 60-second kind of teaser trailer. So I've been slowly filming and doing some editing some of these days to try and put this all together. But I'm hoping to really shine a light on kind of the whole contest prep process. It's not as glorious as some people would think.
Especially if you do it like I do. I do it for maximum suffering, difficulty level. the ultimate masochism and satisfaction.
Question: when you send Jonathan your posing videos, can I see it?
Sure.
Thanks.
It's fine.
Am I allowed to give critique or will it upset you?
Yeah, no.
As long as
And
it's
I
useful
assume-
critique, not like, oh, you're fat, because that won't help you out. If I say, like, your posing isn't rubbish.
That's fine. You could call me a fat pig and tell me I'm holding all my poses wrong. That's doesn't bother me.
Now you look hench. Don't worry about it.
Trying to. My Irish ancestry doesn't like tanning. I just tend to get more red than anything else. So,
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
I knew that one.
yeah.
Can just be a red bodybuilder instead of a brown one. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm reminded of Jay Cutler and some of his later Olympias. It seemed like everybody else had this beautiful bronze color, and Jay had this really
Red, like
dark
dream
red.
tan.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
always a bit odd. But he
I
four-time
thought
Mr.
it
Olympia,
suited
right?
him fine. Steve Cookler had the same thing at some point. Yeah, we're not all meant to be perfectly bronzed bodybuilders.
As long as you look good. It doesn't matter if you're a slightly different colour. It's all right.
Well, it could affect, prejudging results. If everyone's like, "Who the hell is this red guy?"
You'll get noticed more.
Or you'll be remembered for being a pretty good red guy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what I necessarily want to be remembered for.
I just hope that Drame's able to nip it in the bud once he does a show, if he does do the show, and receive all the self-satisfaction that he deserves for it.
I appreciate that. More than anything else, I really want to build a relatively short 45 to 60-minute documentary outlining the entire process, the mental, physical, and emotional strain that goes into a contest prep, and really bring that to light. So that's more of what I'm excited about than actually standing on a stage doing my compulsory poses.
I think that'd be good. I think a lot of people obviously have a vision of what they think bodybuilding contest is like, but they have absolutely no idea. And if they don't know anybody that's done it, that can talk them through this is the process and this is the mind process and everything like that, then they just don't know. And I think they're then in for a shock then, aren't they, if they don't have that information beforehand.
Yeah.
My goal is to have the best posterior on stage with the most mitigating factors working against me, to have the best posterior posing on stage.
When you mentioned on, I think the last live Q&A that you maybe peaked a little early at first and your last couple of weeks were hellish, because having striated glutes, 3 weeks out, it's hard to get striated glutes, to begin with. It's hard to get that lean, let alone kind of maintain that degree of leanness for the last 2 or 3 weeks before a show. And even then, Rich Gaspari, I think, is probably credited with being the first bodybuilder to even get striated glutes on a stage. And I think Skip LaCour being the first natural to have striated glutes. It's a hard degree of leanness to achieve.
Yeah, I think Colt came pretty close in his last show. He maintained a good level of leanness for a competitive bodybuilding stage. The conditioning over here in the UK is much harder than it is in the US. It's much more competitive. Not many people compete over here per capita sort of thing. So if you compete, it's the chance are you're pretty good. But also a bit more political.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I might be experiencing that. Maybe next year, don't know yet.
What do you mean by that?
I might go into competing. I might compete next year.
What, as a male bodybuilder?
Maybe not a male one, because I feel like I won't be able to change all of that in a short space of time, and I don't really want to. I don't really want to be a man. You're all smelly. I definitely have perks being a woman.
Dream, I want to watch your posing routine.
Okay.
Epic music or crappy rock music?
Well, I don't know. It's going to depend on my mood. Sometimes, they put stipulations sometimes on what kind of music you can have. I would love
You
to.
can't have DMX.
Yeah, I would love to come out and pose to something like All Night by Kiss, just some like 80s cock rock. But I assume that'll probably get shut down. So it'll probably be probably some classical piece. I have to think about it. I posed once to Right Now by Van Halen, and I kind of integrated the piano intro with the guitar solo. So we'll see what I do. I'm we'll probably put something together like 2 to 3 days before the actual show.
Nice.
I'm
Looking
very
forward to
excited.
it. Yeah. Right, let's just check on the last few comments, and then unfortunately that question's going to have to wait for the next one.
Yes.
The kids getting their work out
Very
yesterday.
Rick likes a very white bodybuilder over a brown one.
Do you mean the actual bodybuilder or their color on the day of the show?
I don't know. Mine may have sounded a little bit racist, but that was not intentional.
Yeah.
No, I've got a
When I
friend
said
that's
the brown.
black. It's not racist.
Good.
It's
What have
funny
you
because
guys actually
I'm still learning you guys' sense of humor. So sometimes you'll say something and I have to let it marinate for a couple of seconds before I'm like not quite sure how serious they're being or how sarcastic they're being.
It doesn't help that we have
Doesn't
a straight
help.
face when we
Yeah.
say it. Just to
just
test it.
just as a disclaimer, I don't have a racist bone in my body. I think we're all individual entities living in vastly different experiences that just happen to be different colours. Saying that, I think Cedric Millen probably had the best body ever.
I just don't know the
Until
tanning
Heath.
terminology for the contest prep, so
I prefer quite a dark bodybuilder myself. I don't know why.
maybe things shine through a bit more, maybe.
I don't know.
Enhances the definition lines, I don't know.
I don't know. Yep. Yeah, that's not too bad. What are we going to do with this question, Jerome? We're going to leave it or...
Sure, I got time.
Okay. Andrea Leita da Silva said, without stipulating it as a question, hey, could you talk about how many sets per muscle group in a week of training one should be performing to maximize hypertrophy? Thanks. Jerome, you go first. You know more about this than me.
Sure. Andre, the first thing I would say is I've seen you in Jay Vincent's live videos a lot. If you ever have any questions that you ask there that Jay doesn't always get to, feel free to drop them here and we'll get to them when we can. I know Jay gets a lot of questions and isn't always good about answering them. But your questions are always welcome here. As far as how many sets per muscle group per week, that's going to depend on your intensity and also your training frequency that you can recover from. So if your genetics and your diet and your sleep only allows you to train 1 to 2 times a week, your actual volume is probably going to be significantly less. I would think most people probably shouldn't train more than 4 times a week. That would be every other day. And then the next week, if you were still training every other day, it'd only be 3 times that next week. So in terms of total number of sets per week, anywhere from 1 to probably 12 to 16, depending on a number of variables.
Per muscle group. What do you think, Sophie? The sets per muscle group per week.
Probably the same as Jerome, really. I suppose, like you say, it depends on how intense you can train and what your recovery's like. Yeah, pretty much the same. It can obviously vary quite a lot for other people, can't it?
I think it depends what muscle group it is and how you're defining each muscle group. For example, biceps might have a vastly different training volume than quadriceps. Then you might say it's a leg day. Now, are you just saying it's an arm day versus a leg day? Then, you know, are you going to do 4 sets for arms, then 6 sets for legs, or I don't know. It's way too tricky to dig up in this sort of way. I would strongly advise booking a consultation to get the right answer that's specific to you. either book in myself or Jerome, or maybe in the next live provide more context. I'd say somewhere between 5 sets per muscle per week and about 15. Sorry, that's a really vague answer. It's probably not helpful for a lot of people. Like Jerome rightly said, it's depends on the intensity and frequency as well.
Yeah.
So
Try and get on a bit earlier and give more context, just so we have that bit more time to kind of.
I feel a bit
Answer
useless answering in that sort of sense because it doesn't really give them a number. It's as good as Google in that sort of context.
Well, that's a good point too about how you're actually tracking volume for a muscle group, because if you're, any type of movement that has elbow flexion, even if it's a back movement, any kind of row is still going to involve the biceps to some extent. So are you counting that towards your bicep volume? No. Like, should it in some context? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I believe Andre trains, at least fairly similar to how we do. So it's going to be dependent on your recovery ability and how your workout numbers are looking. If you're making progress, whatever you're doing, and you're happy with the progress, I would keep doing it. If you're not, then yeah, I would definitely consider booking a consultation with Jonathan, and he could really look at the specifics and probably narrow this down quite a bit for you.
Yeah, save yourself the grief. Honestly, you can waste so much time trying to get it perfect, and we can give you ideas which are going to be helpful and save you a lot of stress and impact on your joints. Some people, I know one guy today I spoke with, I think he's doing 180 sets per week. I know of people that have done, I believe Declan, I think he's doing about 8 sets roughly every 9-10 days, something like that. Neither one of them are doing wrong. Now, if you go down the line longitudinally and find out what's happening to their physiques, you might have a different answer. It might be that both of those methods work up to a point. Then once they've got to that set point, that of musculature, then, like Jerome always says, recovery becomes the key point where one of them might want to work. Going really high intensity with those 8-9 sets might completely wreck your joints. Then the same is true if you're doing 180 sets. I feel bad because I can't give this guy a straight answer. Yeah, not good. I'm not very happy with myself right now.
But then it's not kind of black or white, is it? Like, it's because it's all individual. It's such a grey area. Like, you do a different amount of sets to me, and we probably do a different amount of sets to Jerome, and it's all.
Jerome, you're doing about 15 to 20 sets total a week, is that right? Like for the whole
Yeah,
body?
I'm probably exercising once every 3, sometimes every 4th day. Most of my workouts are about 5 sets of workout. So you can, and
About 10, 12.
I don't look at things so much on the weekly basis because like your body doesn't really know.
Doesn't know 7-day week, yeah.
I just look at it like every 3rd day or every 4th day or so, depending on what's going on with my schedule and just how I'm feeling on that day. I kind of play it by ear. But I've seen with my numbers, trying to take everything as far to total muscular failure. I hate that term. But trying to push the intensity as high as I can. I've seen that my body does best if I limit my total number of sets in one workout to about 5 or 6. Beyond that, and I really struggle to make progress, even if I take, do one workout every 7 to 10 days. That particular volume seems to be almost like a hard limit to me for one workout.
That makes sense. Yeah, you'll find your point where your body's like trashed after it. If I did, for example, total muscular failure, or at least concentric, isometric, and eccentric failure, I'm probably doing about 6 to 8 sets without overtraining. Once you go beyond that point, it's a case of me doing maybe just concentric muscular failure, then doing up to 10 sets. I'm probably saying at the moment I'm doing a rough estimate 40 to 45 sets per week, and that's 2 concentric muscular failure. About right, isn't it? Yeah. There's like Jerome's doing a quarter of what I'm doing, but his failure point is a lot more in depth than mine for the vast majority of his workouts. So yeah, I could probably do a bit more volume than Jerome, but then saying that I'm not cutting back for competition in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
And
tolerate more than
that's
him.
a big factor in it too. If I was trying to do like a lean bulk, or if I was only going to concentric failure, or maybe 1 or 2 reps in reserve, even though I don't like the idea of reps in reserve, I would be doing more volume. So yeah, it's hard to give recommendations, kind of how this question likes. But if you're able to, and if you watch this, leave your training routine in the comments, and I'll look it over and give you a few thoughts. I'd really like to see what your current training routine looks like.
Yeah, Jerome and I see lots of routines. We can always pick it apart in some way. There's always something, like you can look at my routine without knowing my own recovery experience as of current. You won't realize why I'm doing so many sets of a leg press, or why I'm not training to failure here or there. This is where booking a consultation is really useful, but Jerome will definitely look at it if you give him the time of day and have the patience to write it out, and he'll be able to say, you could really improve this minor tweak. I highly recommend you do that if you're still watching, and I'll take the free advice.
It's going to be like a play about, isn't it? It's going to be you just have to give it a try on something, maybe add a couple to what you're doing now, or take away a couple to what you're doing now, and then change it up.
And one last point I would make about that is there's no single perfect routine either, because even just putting some exercises earlier or later in the workout is going to give more focus, concentration, and priority to some muscle groups over another. So whatever you're doing, you're going to have to switch it up a little bit at some point anyways, just to try and build a more well-rounded physique or more strength or functionality.
Yeah, the routine changes all the time. All the time meaning it will change at some point, but how often, you don't know.
There's a lot that goes into that.
It's a lot. There's too much that goes into it, and it's gonna be sitting on my mind tonight, and definitely Jerome's night tonight, thinking about it and how we could have helped you more. The best thing we can do right now is look at your routine if you post it in the comments below. We might be able to give you some different ideas anyway. All right, that's everyone. Brilliant. The artificial skin colours. Yeah, I prefer to be blue. Sorry for the amount of hair. Yeah. I'm extremely hairy. I've had my back lasered by my mum like 6 times. Jerome's probably the same with the Irish descent.
Yeah, I just shaved my back this morning, and I know that you can see it. Everything on the chest is going to have to go soon, and there's some other areas that are going to have to be shaved soon. I despise that whole process.
It's all the prickliness on the back of the legs I hate. What's more detrimental is the toilets.
Now you know how us women feel.
Right, we're definitely going to go now, because I think I'm getting a bit tired.
I think Jerome's in need of the toilet as well. I think he's been holding his
Yeah,
wee
as long as
for quite
humanly
a while.
possible.
squirming a bit.
He's got a cup beneath his legs.
Well, thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks for
Appreciate you coming
tuning
on.
in, and thanks
Thank
Jerome.
you, Jerome, and also thank you to Declan for his kind donation of 10 American US dollars.
Thank you for having me.